No. You finished the riddle? Yeah.
Thank you. It took some compliments.
I don't think that's bad. We're getting Dillard some now. After the down there. Back to. Hope I'm going to today.
Same direction.
More into southern area. All these were being like. But they're long to hear.
Yes.
Getting ready to get it started.
We'll go ahead and call to order the school board meeting, Pleasant Hill School District, October 21st. We'll start with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would you mind reading the mission statement for us? Definitely.
Our mission is to graduate all students with high levels of academic and personal achievement. Ready for post-secondary excellence, prepared for productive and passionate citizenship through research-based instruction and a collaborative system of support.
Any changes or additions to the agenda? Nobody to introduce in the audience tonight. 4.0 public forum for individuals who are on site. We don't have anybody, but I'll read through this really quick. During this portion of the board meeting, members of the public are specifically invited to present items of commendation and or concerns at the discretion of the board chair. Further public participation may be allowed at the time specific agenda items are under consideration by the board. District policy DDDH. For those viewing online, the school district posts the upcoming agenda on our website, pleasanthill.k12.or.us, the Friday before regularly scheduled Monday school board meetings. This will allow for public comment prior to the board meeting. Please click on the tab provided to share your comments for the school board to consider at upcoming meetings. Personnel matters may not be discussed in public at a school board meeting. Members of the public who have personnel concerns or commendations should share them directly with the district superintendent, Mr. Chris. 5.0 action items. 5.1 consent agenda. I will hear motions. I will second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstaining?
I'm gonna abstain because I was impressed.
Oh, so we can't pass it along. I'll approve that. I didn't see anything concerning it, so I can approve it. I'll approve it. So is that passing with 3 votes, 1 abstaining?
Yes.
All right. 5.2, accept Division 22 report.
Right, so this is our yearly Division 22 that is done prior to November 1st. That was for the previous school year. So the rules contained in chapter 581, Division 22 of Oregon Administrative Rules are the educational standards that the Oregon Legislature or the state board has determined must be met in order to be a standard school district. Compliance with the Division 22 standards ensures every student in Oregon Public Schools is provided with the baseline level of service. By November 1st of each year, the district reports to the school board and community on their compliance with all Division 22 standards for public elementary and secondary schools for the preceding school year by making a presentation to the school board as set forth in Oregon 581-022020305. And so what you've got in your packet tonight is the document that actually goes on our website after this is passed. And it covers all of the rules, and we are currently in compliance with all of those. There are some still on this year that are waived. So for instance, on page 4 of those, as an example, the assessment of essential skills diploma requirements are waived through 27-28. The essential skill assessment for English language learners is also waived through 27-28. Again, this covers items like our library services, which we contracted in NSD, which is where we have a licensed individual that oversees our libraries. Covers our PE minutes for middle school and elementary school. Covers all of our health authority information, human resource and staffing. But once again, we are in compliance with we were in compliance with the 23-24 school year. So the recommendation is the board of directors approve the Division 22 standards assurances report for 22-23-24 academic year.
The 2 that were waived, are we in compliance with it? Do we need it to be, or are they hard to get there? I know it's still multiple years away, but.
We would not be in compliance yet with how we are tracking essential skills.
Okay, but the other one.
Yes,
Okay, is it a hard thing to do or pretty easy?
it is not. It's generally a checklist. Remember how you've done in the past? In the past, it was like a hard copy of that went into a student's records for the essential skills.
Oh, yeah, this was a hard copy, it was gonna check off, it was.
So it's, the rules aren't things to worry about or
No.
anything. Okay, sounds good.
Any questions or concerns? Your motions?
You to accept the Division 22 report?
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. 5.3, first read board policy updates.
So these are the policies. If you remember from our last meeting, we had these as a review item and they were broken up into the sections that I've got here on this front page. And they are civil rights. And so that is policy AC, non-discrimination. That policy was an update. And it is in here as we reviewed, under exhibit 24.25.53. The next one was under procurements, and that's policy DJC, bidding requirements. And the recommendation is to delete that one and replace it with the new one that we reviewed. And it's in here, it's exhibit 24.25.54. The next is DJCAR, which is deleting that AR and replacing it with the new one as we reviewed it, which is exhibit 24.25.55. And then DJCA, personal services contracts, delete that. And the DJCAR, personal services contracts, delete that. As a reminder, all of those got put into the new DJC under the bidding requirements. So the OSBA essentially, if you remember, is to take all that stuff and combine it under one policy. Next one is the sexual harassment definition. And these are both updates, the GBN, JBA, and the JBA, GBN. There's no differences between the language of the two policies. It's just the GBN lives in personnel and the JBA lives in the student side. There's the two exhibits that go with that. Next one was the fingerprinting, GCDA, GDDA. From the records checks and fingerprinting, there's a delete. And then a new policy, for the 24.5.58 that replaces it, as we reviewed at the last meeting. And in the AR is deleted. And again, all of that is within that one policy right now, as far as the rules that we follow in complying with the policy.
All of these policies, there was just one version of to choose from. Sometimes the OSBA comes up with 2 or 3 different versions.
Yes, and the version that we brought in was the one that was most closely related to the others.
Yeah,
The biggest difference was, even in the other versions, they were taken and collapsed. If there was more than one version. And the procurement, for instance, where we had bidding requirements as a policy and the exemptions from competitive bidding and special procurements, taking all that and just combining it into one policy. There's other versions of that as well. Sexual harassment, there was not a lot of changes to that one. There was just the addition around the definition of sexual harassment that was updated. Fingerprinting again, that was taking combining all that into one policy and removing also the AR. We're gonna follow the same piece tonight with the additional, and then to remind you, there's just so many policies that needed updated in this round due to the last piece of legislature that went through. And the idea is to take them through review like we did last time and do a recommendation in a large chunk. So recommendation is that you approve these policy changes as the first read of the following year. First read for the following policy changes, and they just outlined under civil rights, procurement, sexual harassment definition, and fingerprinting. And if that's approved for tonight, we will bring this back for a second reading at our next board meeting.
The highlighted stuff can move stuff, right?
Correct.
Any questions or concerns? I'll hear the motions to approve the first reading. Any further discussion?
it's odd to me that you're approving a first reading. It's second reading for you to adopt policy.
Correct. And that's it. I think it just reflects the changes that we've had. I've seen it. I think we've discussed this before, either way. This is not saying that,
You're not adopting the policy, you're
the
just,
second one will be adopting the actual policy again.
But it still requires us to approve the first reading.
It requires us to accept it. It has to be in an action item. The action item, which signals public comment, if we want to public comment on it. and had a chance to see it in here first, yeah. And for us, I think it's just acknowledging that, yep, we're on the right track, this is what we want to see as far as the policy changes, and then to move forward.
We proceed with the vote on it, or
It could be accept, we have even changes and recommend the board of directors accept the first reading. Do that, yeah.
I think that's how I worded it, or actually.
Yeah,
You made a motion.
approve.
Or the first reading has happened. And they board meeting.
Acknowledge.
Yeah.
And it gives a formal opportunity for questions, comments, around the language. Items that we want to change.
Well, the motion's still out there, so I guess we'll just proceed with that. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Aye, passes unanimously. 5.4, approve Laney SD transit dollars.
So this is another yearly one as well. So pursuant to RS 34177, as amended by the 2013 House Bill 3401. Component School District Board may request that a percentage of the state formula revenue received by Laney SD be distributed to the school district for any purpose identified by the school district board. The request for these transit dollars will be distributed on an ADM weighted basis. The ORS requires that the component school district board submit the request to Laney SD no later than November 1st. During the 23-24 school year, Pleasant Hill School District requested 50% of our transit dollars be utilized to resource to support regional special education program services for students in our district. If needed, will we utilize the transit dollars in 24-25 to support special education programming for Pleasant Hill schools? And there's a note there, percentage of funds requested may affect the school district's ability to participate in formal governments of Laney SD. And essentially is if we want to go more than 50%. Then it would definitely affect our ability to participate in the model of the ESD. So recommendation is that the board of directors approve the Lane County School District transit dollar requests for fiscal year 24-25. Specifically, it is recommended the board of directors request does not exceed 50% of transit dollars pursuant to RS 334.177. Remember, the transit dollar has nothing to do with transportation. In big services that we get from that ESD.
So follow up. I will begin your motion.
To approve the Laney SD dollars.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. 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 Passes unanimously. 6.0 board discussion, 6.2 policy. Board policy review.
You got with you is, and you got hard copies there as well, is the next round of board policies, and again, this is just a review. And so, we've got. Check that right. In this one, we've got health services and then restraint or seclusion, record and corporal punishments. And so what you'll find in your packet is, and recommendations from OSBA. So our policy EBBA, which is our first aid policy, is recommendation is to delete that. EBBA, student health services, is the new recommended policy that we replace first aid. And then the EBBA AR first aid infection control is a delete. EBB B injury or illness reports is an update. GBEB communicable disease in schools, I recommend it as an update for us. And the AR is also an update. The GBEBA staff HIV AIDS and HBV is a delete. And the reason that they're deleted again, because they combine it into one policy, which is now the EBBA. JHC, Student Health Services and Requirements, is delete, again, and we'll do EBA. The JHCA, JHCB, immunization and school sports participation is a highly recommended policy, and that is new. We've always had an immunization policy. It did not include school sports participation, so they've taken that and they've included it, basically expanded the policy from the JHCC, communicable disease students, JHCC, the AR for that for students, and JHCCA, students HIV, HPV, and AIDS are all deleted. Again, those are captured in the GBEP update. So next, we'll go ahead and go through and review those. So the first, the student health services, the EBEA, this is the new policy that would replace the older first aid policy. Essentially, in this policy, they've expanded from the first aid policy. And they talk about in here, the, like number 3 of this outline of district and school communication plan, information about health screenings, immunization, TB certificates, health services for students, including those that are medically complex, medically fragile, or nursing dependent, those who have approved by 4 plans, individual education program plans, individual health care plans, or special education or special health care needs are managed. And integration of our school health services with school health education programs, coordinate with health and social service agencies, describe how hearing, vision, and dental screenings are managed to verify the required students, include a process to assess and determine a student's health service needs, including availability of a nurse to assess student nursing needs upon during and following enrollment, and one or more new medical diagnosis impacting a student's access to education, and implement a student's individual health plan prior to attending school. Comply with OSHA level pathogens, refer to adopted policy and procedure for medications, include guidelines for managing the students who are medically complex, fragile, or nursing dependent. That's assigned the statute. So it's taken the student, the first aid one, and expanded upon that in this concept of a health services plan. We don't have all these things in place. I'll work with Katie, our school RN, on being able to coordinate this work, and then utilize the Department of Ed's got a toolkit for us to actually go through and answer the questions as we start to actually formalize the different aspects of the policy that we still need to put in place. That would be for student health services. Then is policy EBEA. It's the highly recommended new one, so injury or illness reports. All of the gray is the updates, the changes to this one. So in the past, it would talk about first when they add the word "or." In the past, it was injuries / illnesses. So now say injuries over illnesses. And you're going to see that they've included staff members in this policy. The report self-administered first aid treatment and immediate supervisor. Include the word employees there in the next sentence. In the event of work-related illness or injury to an employee resulting in inpatient hospitalization, loss of an eye, amputation, or expulsion, district safety officer shall report the incident to Oregon occupational safety and health divisions. Within 24 hours, all injuries or illnesses sustained by an employee while in the actual performance of the duty of the employee or by a student or visiting public, and accidents involving district property, employees, students, or visiting public will be promptly investigated. In the last paragraph, district safety officer will maintain records on injuries, illnesses, and accidents involving district property, employees, students, or visiting public. These records will include prevention measures taken, reporting information, periodic statistical reports on the number of types of injuries, illnesses, and accidents occurring in the district, monthly and annual analysis of the accident data. This one here, we're really close. to be in full compliance with. So during our monthly leadership meetings, Sherry will provide an accident report for us that we discussed with the administrative staff. And then both schools are now, as part of their reporting mechanism, joining safety meetings in their buildings as well. Next one is GDEB, communicable disease in schools. The communicable disease is an area that's gone through a lot of changes since the pandemic. This is a highly recommended policy by OSBA. That first line, districts provide reasonable protection against the risk of exposure to communicable diseases for students and employees who engage in performance of their duties. We do utilize communicable disease guidance for schools published by ODE and OHA, and that's actually posted on the website. A student employee may not attend school or work respectively while on a communicable stage of a restrictable disease, or when an administrator has reason to suspect a student or employee has or has been exposed to a new disease for which exclusions is required in accordance with law. The district may provide an education program in an alternative setting. Services will be provided to students as required by law. And then the last paragraph to the end, I guess second to last. District shall protect the confidentiality of each student and employee's health condition and report to the extent possible and consistent with federal and state law. In cases where, when a restrictable or reportable disease is diagnosed and confirmed for a student, the administrator may inform employees with a legitimate educational interest. What we've gotten to following the pandemic is we got pretty specific in the language, and then after they took away the vaccine requirement, I guess the policies to me went back and became more vague again, and they just referenced the OHA. And so it's the OHA guidelines where we start to follow and get into like how many hours after a fever is broke, what kind of sicknesses can be asked that students or even staff stay at home. And then the second page of there is the AR that goes with that. The biggest change there is number 2, susceptible. So for a child means lacking documentation of immunization required under OAR 333-050-0050, or if the immunization is not required, lacking evidence of immunity to the disease. Which will be very few changes. Next one on the list is around immunization. And remember, this is really adding any school sports participation. So in that one, they've got the first paragraph or second paragraph, and then immunization of school sports participation. So a student participating in extracurricular sports in grades 7 through 12 is required to submit to an appropriate school sports pre-participation examination prior to their initial participation in a related district program. The form is to be completed and signed by a parent or guardian giving permission for the student to participate, and signed by another provider authorized by law who has examined and evaluated the student. Completed form must be returned to the school office. And the next paragraph, student who exhibits signs, symptoms, or behaviors consistent with concussion following observed or suspected over the head or body, or who has been diagnosed with a concussion, will not be allowed to participate in any athletic event or training on that day. It's an athletic trainer licensed by the Board of Athletic Trainers or a physician has determined the student does not suffer a concussion, except as allowed above. A student excluded for concussion reasons will not be allowed to return to participate in athletic event or training until the following 3 conditions have been met. That's those 3 conditions. We do have with Katie on, staff. We've got procedures set up where she will meet with Kyle, following any possible concussions with kids, and she helps go through the concussion protocols. And it helps guide those.
Specific to Pleasant Hill. We have 6 through 12th graders competing. As far as I know, 6th graders are not.
So we're here for it. I don't think so. No. Next one is around corporal punishment. And this restraint, seclusion, and corporal punishment portion, so. This is one that we actually have currently, and this is the updates. All the updates, as you mentioned before, are there in gray, so it furthers the definition of corporal punishment. Corporal punishment does not include the use of physical force authorized in the ORS, or for the reasons specified therein, or physical pain or discomfort resulting from or caused by participation in athletic competition, or such recreational activity voluntarily engaged in by a student. So for instance, having a team run wind sprints might be not comfortable for some kids, but that wouldn't constitute corporal punishment. The next shaded area there, apparently the guardian of a minor child may use reasonable physical force upon the minor child, and to the extent the person reasonably believes the physical force is necessary to maintain discipline and promote the welfare of the minor child, unless the physical force constitutes abuse as defined by the ORS 418/7 or 419E.005. And there's the language as well. And it changed the language to the next one. So staff members authorized to employ reasonable physical force upon a student only to the extent that the application of physical force is consistent with the ORS and is not corporal punishment as defined in the ORS. Use of restraint or seclusion. This is an update. So page 3 is where you'll see the updates begin in shaded parts. 3/4 of the way down, the district shall only utilize a training program for restraint or seclusion to train staff and use in the district which has been approved by the Oregon Department of Education. The district shall preserve and may not destroy any records related to an incident of restraint or seclusion, including any audio or video recording. The records must be reserved in the original format without alteration in accordance with the law. The appeal process is represented in our board policy, and the last sentence, the staff member who violates this policy or its administrative regulation may be subject to discipline up to and including dismissal. Next one is CKR that goes with restraint and seclusion policy. And again, this is an update as well. So letter D is the add here. The written documentation of the incident within 24 hours. There's letter B, that includes 1 through 5. Letter C, the time and notification of a debriefing meeting will be held, and parent guardian has the right to attend, and then the news D, immediate written notification of the existence of any records related to an incident of restraint or seclusion, including photos or audio or video recording. And 3, if the restraint or seclusion was administered by a person without training, the administrator will ensure written notices issued to the parents or guardians of the student, which includes notice of the lack of training and the reason restraint or seclusion was administered by a person without training. Second page, under number 7, a documented debriefing meeting must be held within 2 school days after the use of restraint or seclusion. The parent or guardian of the student must be invited to attend the meeting, and the meeting will include staff members involved in the intervention and any other appropriate personnel. Debriefing team shall include an administrator. At the debriefing meeting, the district shall review in its entirety any audio or video recordings preserved as a record of the incident involving restraint and seclusion in accordance with the law. And the last sentence there, the parent or guardian has the right to request another meeting in the event they were unable to attend the debriefing meeting scheduled to be held within 2 school days of the incident. Next page. Number 8, if serious bodily injury or death of a student occurs in relation to the use of restraint or seclusion, a oral notification of the incident must be provided immediately to a parent or guardian of the student and to the Oregon Department of Human Services. And written notification of the incident must be provided to DHS within 24 hours. And 9, if serious bodily injury or death of a staff member occurs in relation to the use of restraint or seclusion, written notification of the incident must be provided within 24 hours of the incident to the superintendent of local instruction, and applicable to the university for the affected person. And number 10, the district shall maintain a record of each incident in which injuries or death occurs in relation to the use of restraint or seclusion. 11, district upon request from DHS regarding an investigation of an incident of restraint or seclusion as suspected child abuse, so disclose any records preserved to DHS or states in need, which are deemed relevant to the subject of the investigation in its original format without any alteration. And then number 5, under the bold area towards the bottom, if the student is involved in 5 incidents in a school year, the team, including a parent or guardian of the student, will form for the purpose of reviewing and revising the student's behavioral plan and ensuring the provision of any necessary behavioral supports.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's suggested the doctor review, so we've got one more set of policies. Just due to the amount of changes that have taken place to review, so the ones that went through the first read tonight will move to second read. These will move to the first read, and then we'll have a chance to review part of the first read at our next board meeting. The third and final. These are final, right? Yes. Section policies. If you have any sort of feedback on the format, I think it helps to have them print it out.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Got one change from the grade 6.
Should Katie look over?
She,
Does she know they're changing?
I doubt that she knows these are changing. So you.
Some 1.0 reports and information, 7.1 special ed report.
Yes, we'll do.
Good evening.
Uh, when Jim and I were talking about this, he asked a good probing question about what, and to the point of like, the data, we kind of data we bring just across all of the reports. I got to thinking at the last board meeting, when I think it was Rusty was asking about like, how do we know how kids are doing when they get their doors? And I was like, gosh, actually, we have a whole report that we do on that. You know, this whole data set we report, and it never occurred to me until that moment, like, gosh, you guys would probably like to hear about that. So what do you know? So I have that to report on tonight, amongst other things. And some real good news to celebrate in there, I think. So, just, because in current demographics, we serve approximately 140 students district-wide, in special education services. Those are needs that range from students who have relatively, minor levels of service required, could be just have like speech services, kids who have pretty comprehensive plans and require, either a lot of time during the day with full-out instruction for reading and math and writing, and or possibly things like speech. To students who require more comprehensive kind of, I don't want to say separate, but alternative placements, either some of our alternative classrooms within the district or up to and including students who need a little bit more specialized or intensive placement and more regionally provided for programs. So of those students, we have 8 students currently that are served in offsite placements. 3 of those are students who receive life skills supports. And in this county, we serve life skills students under what's called a consortium model. So any student who requires that level of support is served through ESD programming. That's part of what those ESD dollars go to fund, is those classrooms and that level of support. It's a highly intensive level of support, requires really high levels of staffing. Often students are served one-on-one or, 2 kids to 1 adult for either student needs are that significant or safety reasons, maybe all of the above. And so those students, there's classrooms, the ESD operates kind of placed throughout the county in different schools. North Eugene High School has one, right? South Eugene High School, and Crestline Elementary, and there's kind of pockets of classrooms spread across the region. And students from any of the component districts are kind of bused to those locations. So 3 of our students are served through those. It's a cost and training piece, right? Like the cost it would take for every district, especially the smaller districts, to run their own life skills classrooms for maybe 1, maybe 2 students to be able to do that, to do it safely, to do it well. It just makes more sense to kind of consolidate those resources and make sure you have highly specialized staff that are trained to do things well. For students that have the most need, obviously we want them to receive the best service. The other 5 students attend, kind of have a smattering of needs, a couple kiddos that are getting, or not kiddos, I guess young adults, that are getting transition services. Those are services for students once they graduate high school with like a modified diploma, are still eligible for what are called transition services until they reach age 21. And those are services meant to help support community success and living, post-secondary success, helping students with job shadows, internships, kind of functional life skills development. And so again, there's a few programs run like through Eugene and Springfield that do this really well, have access to communities and busing and markets easily where young adults can actually learn those skills functionally. And so often the outlying districts will consolidate down to those programs in town. So the students can actually get really rigorous transition services where they're in a little bit more comprehensive community setting. So that's a quick rundown of our demographic. As I said, every year we actually do complete a report called the post-school outcomes, and that report asks us to reconnect with the young adults who receive special education services in high school 1 year after graduation. So it's a data on a 1 year lag. So this fall, we would have called the graduates of 2023. You go through a series of like 20 questions. What are you doing? are you employed, are you in school, are you living independently, with roommates, with family? Did you have a job when you left school? What kind of, how much, how many hours, and this and that, and some reflective questions about what you wish you'd learned more about in high school, and you feel like your education actually prepared you for X, Y, Z. So of that data that we collected, this year on our students from a year ago, 50% either are currently attending or have attended some kind of school or educational program. That could be a 4-year university, 2-year university, could be a trade or vocational program, having received, some kind of additional education or training. 80% reported having had paid jobs lined up upon graduation from school. So that's a really exciting percentage. 90% of young adults that we talked to are currently employed. Those that were not currently employed were enrolled in school full time. Which I think that's kind of the out. So to me, really what that number says is 100% of our students are gainfully, using their time productively. They're working or they're in school full time. And half of the students are living with family currently, while the other half are living independently or with their kids. But all seem to be in some stable housing, relatively stable in their job or school setting. So that was really encouraging data to receive. And then we just kind of work on the item by item level. If there's things that students report, often it comes up, I wish I'd known more about taxes. I wish I'd known more about, filling out employment paperwork, those kinds of things. And so I'm working with my high school staff on kind of tweaking what some of the things are to do in those years leading up to graduation so that we can help support that financial literacy piece. It's often the piece that comes up. I wish I knew how to get a credit card. I wish I understood banks better. I wish I understood taxes better. I mean, I think there's 40-year-olds that wish that too, right? So we're currently kind of trying to figure out how we do some of that a little bit better and a little bit more intentional, so that we do have some students that are graduating feeling a little bit more prepared, for some of those things that come after. And then just some current priorities. We're working right now as a special education department with the counselors, K-12, through a book study on a concept called collaborative problem solving. If you're unfamiliar with that, is a kind of a framework and mindset around supporting students with challenging behaviors. Kind of the buzz phrase of it is skill, not will. The idea that students would do well if they could, and if they aren't, there's probably something getting in the way. If we can identify that something and help them build skills around it, much the way that if a student can't read, we teach them to read. Right? We don't get mad at them about it, teach them. They don't know how to do math, teach them how to do math. They don't know how to write, teach them how to write. They're struggling with self-regulation, how do we teach them self-regulation? But it's really about how do you dig in and get at that, what's going on, question. Just kind of a reframing of how we approach that as adults in the system. So we're pretty excited doing that, kind of as a shared special education, general education initiative. So we're doing that over the course of some of our early release Fridays over the course of the year. And at the end of the year, we'll be thinking about like, all right, so how do we start to operationalize this, right? And where do we go from here? And how do we start to share that out, to more people and start impacting students with it. We're really continuing to focus on those transition years. How do we transition in the pre-K students that receive special education services into kindergarten effectively, so they're kind of ready to launch? How do we attend to that 5th to 6th jump? And even though it's in the same building, how do we attend to that 9th to jump? Really making sure that in the years leading up to those, that we're making sure that they're ready, that jump is aligned as much as possible. And then really working this year, we continue to refine our high school SSP curriculum processes and just looking at how do we partner with counselors and other staff to make sure that we've got our 9th graders and especially all of our high schoolers, but particularly with the focus at 9th grade and 12th grade, making sure that those kids are on track for graduation and will be graduating, as seniors, that we're really monitoring those hot points. So that our kids are actually ready to graduate.
How long have you been doing the post-school survey?
Years.
Are these numbers like typical-ish?
I think so. I was really pleased. This was a very strong showing. I was really pleased with that currently, 90% currently employed, 80% paid jobs out of high school, right? Like
Yeah,
those were
they're
really
really good.
encouraging numbers to see, and I think, speaks to just what we're doing, and not just within the special education department, but also like, the counselor has taken up and just the work that we're trying to do to align some of the initiatives and, really push kids at the end to gain some of those skills, those job ready skills. I think it speaks to the CTE programming that we have in place and the work that they do with getting kids out into job sites and, getting some job skills and for those real world experiences. So they are very encouraging numbers to me. I think a great place to kind of continue to build from.
Is this based on, were you able to reach all the students?
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yes,
These
my,
numbers are even better than,
My secondary case manager was ruthless and relentless in tracking down this data. I will give her great props for helping us get 100% response rate on that, so.
I think that, the board has talked, I think, Rusty has talked to, and well, the other members have talked about doing this for just all of our graduates. Obviously, we're not gonna get 100% response rate, but just,
Some kind of re-engagement measure to at least take the temperature,
Yep.
alive out there, yeah, yeah.
yes.
Feeling productive, you feeling connected, like any kind of way to get at that data, it's great.
Well, it's good that you're getting the feedback in terms of what we have done to help you more. And
Right.
you have the financial literacy piece, which is, something to be great to work on. It's, good that you're looking at that.
Yeah, so I will not get into credit card debt 18 months out.
Sounds like it's coming anyway.
Yeah.
It sounds like we're gonna discuss that next.
Interesting how these things all line up.
Thank you very much, Whitney. 7.2, superintendent report.
Yes, a big thank you to Whitney for teeing that up, so. You've got the exhibits, 24-25.69 is really a summary. And gives some information as far as what we're doing in the district as well around this, but the next piece is handout from the Department of Education, just for you guys to have around Central 3 and the changes around diploma requirements. So changes are this, so there's credit requirement for 9th grade students, and that was the 9th grade students in 23-24, and then onward. But starting with last year's 9th graders, they will have to have a 0.5 credit in personal finance education and a 0.5 credit in higher education and career skill paths when they graduate. Updated requirements for 24-25 is around comprehensive student comprehensive substance abuse. Abuse prevention and intervention plans. So starting this school year, all Oregon public schools are required to adopt a comprehensive plan for substance use prevention and intervention. The plan includes substance use prevention education for K-12, aligned with health education standards and specific content of substance use prevention. A minimum of 1 ODE or early prevention education lesson required for grades 6, 7, and 8, and once during high school, and then intervention plan. So school policies and procedures addressing substance use, clear resources and referral processes for students needing support, training and established procedures for staff to intervene appropriately in substance use issues that arise. Our policies around this are the GHCP and the GHCPA that was adopted in 2022. And GHCP and GHCP, they are the medications, which again was also adopted in 2022. Second part of that, so new instruction requirements for 24-25 is around K-12 social and emotional learning. So schools must implement a comprehensive plan instructional program for social emotional learning across all grade levels. This program aims to enhance students' social skills, emotional regulation, and resilience. And the key initiative in our district, I've broken these down by area. So in elementary school, our counselor utilizes a number of programs. One of those is Second Steps. So it's a research-based program focused on social emotional skills and bullying prevention. Zones of Regulation is a framework to teach students self-regulation and emotional control. They have the abilities monthly character trait and focus, which is monthly themes that promote character development and positive behavior. We have our Lunch Buddies, which is a peer support program encouraging friendship and social connections among students. And then our Reach Out Mentoring program, which connecting students with mentors to enhance their social and emotional skills. The middle school initiatives, sixth grade Sources of Strength class, so it's a class that teaches resilience, wellness, and strength-based approaches to challenges. We began WEB this year, where everybody belongs, a peer mentoring program that fosters a welcoming school environment for all students. Again, our Lunch Buddies program. And our Reach Out Mentoring program. At the high school, the initiatives are around integrated activities within the classroom, so incorporating SEL strategies and daily lessons and activities, daily or weekly check-ins, targeting emotional check-ins, foster supporting classroom environments, developing classroom norms, with shared expectations to promote a positive, inclusive classroom culture, mindfulness practices, so techniques for managing stress, promoting emotional well-being. Both our middle school and our high school utilize advisory periods as well. So those are dedicated time for SEL focused discussions and activities as needed. Goal setting and self-management around college and career readiness is where that really fits into, but helping students set personal and academic goals. Leadership, student-led initiatives, opportunities for students to take on leadership roles and lead SEL related activities and our extracurricular activities and clubs. So just in conclusion, these updates to graduation requirements alongside our SEL initiatives and intervention plan reflect our commitment to preparing students not only academically, but also socially and emotionally. And by embedding SEL practices throughout the K-12 curriculum and adhering to educated policies, we are equipping our students with necessary skills to navigate their education journey and move on. This will be second full year with our counselors as well. So Whitney mentioned like doing a project with our SPED staff and our counselors, but our counselors started last year, aligning to the comprehensive standards around counseling. And this will be the second year that they're doing that work. That's really how to redefine the process when we can pull in a lot of standards involved. The plan around the additional half credits we're working on right now. Just having the nice connections over in our neighboring districts has helped out a lot as far as getting the work that they've done. They've been happy to share with us how they're putting personal finance education and doing the work around the education of career path skills into the curriculum. And so we just was able to get that work that they've done. That was last week, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was on Monday last week. Yeah, I have all the information this year, which I'll share with you. So yeah,
So we're starting to plan it out, put that into our calendar, into our schedule for students. So that last year's freshmen, by the time we graduate, will have the graduation requirements.
Just curious what it's replacing.
it's kind of additive. Yeah, you know,
Because they're saying they're not adding additional required credits,
no,
right?
yeah, so there's a lot of options that we're exploring right now. In Springfield, one of the things like their social studies department is very, like, in their economics class, it's very territorial about personal finance. So they're gonna take all the standards that the state wants the kids to learn, they're gonna embed it in their econ class. So they're gonna do that through the econ program. And what we're really looking at, what most interested in is the college career readiness, that component of it. And what I have right now, what they have worked on right now, is taking a look at every standard related to that, and then designing activities for each of those standards, and then that's the class that we will, that I said we'll probably have to find it. And we do have, I have the FTE for that, so it's not gonna be higher than the first. But I think it's kind of picking up a class that will be that senior success or junior, what level do we think they're gonna more benefit that? Is it too late as a senior? Do you want to get to as a junior? And work on that.
Well, considering some of the stuff that's listed here, I would think that it's too late for a senior. Just in terms of applying, if nothing else, applying for admission. Unless it's something we're doing first semester of senior year. I would think that that's something that would. But I'm not the educator, so.
Applying for admission in.
Yeah, it says in here, applying for admission, post-secondary institution of education, applying for financial aid and scholarships.
That kind of is a senior activity.
It is, I can tell you, having my third son just applying. Colleges at this point in time. Do not. Care or hang their hat very. Highly on. Financial literacy and. Personal finance. So I don't think the college side is necessarily caught up with Department of Ed side. K-12.
Well, I was just thinking more for the higher education career path skills requirement, that part for like, at what point we're doing that. I mean, like I said, if you're doing it first, the beginning of the senior year, then it would be timely enough.
Because that's, we just had our financial aid night last week. And so we started all the basketball and teaching.
Yeah.
That our counselors were at Oregon State today, learning about the 9 major institutions in Oregon, what they have to offer. So then they were able to go out to Christie, talking to getting kids in that mental, getting them a bunch of schools right now.
Yeah.
So that's what we have kind of established with Christie in place. But this will be curriculum that we're going to actually look at. So I'm interested in what we have here, but also it is kind of a collective thing or different. I'm leaning on them, they're leaning on us. We'll figure this out.
I don't doubt that. Thanks, Jim. 8.0 board communication, 8.1 calendar of events.
So then I think it was last week before, an actual sign up for Google Doc to email. I resent that out to you tonight. What we've got tomorrow, if you would like to come at 6 o'clock, we have the Portrait of Graduate Work Group that will meet here in the community center. And this is the community version. So there's actually 3 groups that are working tomorrow with the group. So the first group is at 11 o'clock with the leadership class at the high school. We meet with the 15 at 3:30 in here. And then the community group right now is Booster Club members, Education Foundation members. We are taking on to some parents from our FFA club to come in. All told, there's I think 16 community members will be with that. But if you'd like to attend, that's tomorrow at 6. The 29th, we've got another track and church fundraising committee. Jennifer serving on that committee as well. And then in November, Jennifer's going to attend the OSBA Fall Conference. November 12th, there's a PTO meeting at 2:30. November 13th, Booster Club meeting at 6:30, and November 20th, the Education Foundation meeting at 6:30. But again, I sent that back out tonight, so if you want to go with it, actually see something you want to sign up for, put your name in there. That way, we're not doubling that. Well. We'll need to add. I think they just sent that out, actually, November 13th, is that the breakfast on the hill?
Well, we're the board, computer night.
Oh, that's right.
That's the,
Okay. I believe November 8th is breakfast on the hill, so we'll get that added as well. Okay, very fast.
Very much. Um. I guess I didn't add it when I asked about additions to the agenda, but I guess this is the time to talk about the regional meeting that Jim and I went to last week for the OSBA, just some updates. They talked about finances for a bit. I took notes on my haste to make sure I wasn't too late getting here. I left my notes at the house. But sounds like, at least the governor is receptive to a large degree to what OSBA is and other, stakeholders are telling both the governor and the legislature that we need more money, especially considering a lot of these funds are going away that these school districts are really relying on. And then, I don't know, you guys saw, in some of the OSBA news articles that some of those, a lot of school districts, not some, a lot of school districts are really struggling with PERS right now. It's like up to 30% of their budget. So considering those, there's a big push to make sure that the next biennium comes with sufficient funding for schools. Something that's more specific to us, they're increasing dues for the first time in how many years? OSBA dues. 20 years, 25 years, is that what it was?
Yeah.
They're going to increase those. They're operating at a $200 million.
I think.
Oh, 2.5, that's right. My notes, $2.5 million deficit. Their investment portfolio has been incredibly successful and strong, so that hasn't been an issue. But I don't want to be relying on that. But then again, the new increases aren't really going to cover it, but they're looking at other ways. That's going to go up. I think it's at the end of there's over 5 years, it's increasing, and by the end of the 5 years, we'll go like $2,200.
I think so. I'll have that for an action item in our next.
Okay,
You guys to vote on.
all right. We're also gonna be asked to vote as a board on some other initiatives. There's that one, and then there's to create a LGBTQ caucus that's in addition to the Black Caucus and also the Rural School District Caucus. And then there's just some other policy updates, some rules changes that they're making for us, how OSBA operates, and I can't remember the specifics of that.
Some minor changes in bylaws going into the next year that had to be changed around the update to the financial piece. They're adding in the yearly requirement for the caucuses to make a report on the work that they've done.
Yeah, because we get, what was the amount, $10,000?
That they were getting. For the
Yeah, they get it
caucuses.
from the OSBA.
And I think it changes every year based on the budget. Currently, I think for this current year, the two caucuses that are in place receive $40,000 each.
Mm.
And so if the third caucus is approved, they imagine giving them half of that, so it would start July 1st. For the next year, and then they would go through the budget process as far as how much they get for the next year. And it was the one board member that serves on one of the caucuses that was a little bit outspoken as far as that incurred.
Because it would affect the stipend that the caucuses get. They were concerned it would, especially with the operating, with the OSBA operating at deficit.
Yeah.
But they're now gonna have to do an audit of how they're using those funds. Yeah, that wasn't required before, now they're going, it's required. Whether or not their caucus is created, the existing ones, the bylaws require them, would require them to audit the public spending money. That was, you know. I missed anything?
Those were the highlights.
It's unfortunate because when by the time we started getting into that meaty stuff, the meeting was almost over. They spent a lot of time on icebreakers. They didn't start. Like, they didn't actually start the presentation, but we've been there for 45 minutes. Yeah, it was just people just chatting. Anyways,
Yeah. Also, there is a new executive director that was, voted in this year, and she was with, I think some of her cabinet was over in the Eastern Oregon, getting around to all the years, well, last year we had the entire group with us.
yeah. Yeah, but that's stuff that'll be coming, that we, as a board, we'll have to vote on.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, Jeff.
No, okay. I was, in our next meeting or something, can we find out like how the free meals are going, how we're the number for doing them?
Yeah. Sure, that day. See, we pulled it.
That was
It's not
part
like
of,
that.
that was part of the icebreaker. They wanted everybody at all the tables to report on things that are going well in the schools. Highlighted. They also really regretted this among their students, but they saw that as a possibility. Any other communication? All right, any other business? Next meeting is November 4th, 7 p.m. here at the community center. We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.